Couple of minutes. It's 5:57. We'll start at 6. I don't know if we're going to get done at 8 p.m., but we're sure going to try. Um, let's just see. There's a few more people coming. We shouldn't start early. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe make an entrance. Oh, there is the mayor. Okay. We thought you were going to make an entrance, you know. Welcome. Welcome to you. There's Polk County there.
Oh, yeah, I wish. If we are, I would like to know that, so I can make a claim, right? Right, exactly. I know, I just had to clarify to make sure that you were the person that we're out of context now, but wait,
I don't want to start before 6 o'clock. That would be, that wouldn't be a good use of our time. It's 5:58, Larry. Yeah.
district chairs on. Trying to get things ready for next time. I'm sorry, what? Good to see you.
I guess I'm running the meeting. No, we're gonna rely on goodwill and
Get the hammer.
order. Oh,
There you go. Somebody gets out of hands.
I'm not worthy to have.
My buddy made these for me, so
That is a real
Mayor
gift.
Fuller.
If you're not paying attention, it scares you when he gets
Yeah,
it.
it is. Okay, now it's 6 p.m. The official West Des Moines clock says 6 p.m. I want to welcome everyone here. I want to use your time wisely tonight. We want to be mindful of just getting home on a cold and windy night. My name is Joe Happy. I'm on the West Des Moines Human Services Advisory Board. I chair it. So tonight I'm going to somewhat speak for the board because we've had discussions of this food pantry situation. Tonight, I want to tell everybody up front, we're recording this meeting. We know it's going to be civil. We know it's going to be productive, and but it will be recorded, so it will be of record. So keep that in mind. And I just want to thank you all for being here. Especially, we have the mayor, we have two of our city councilmen here. We have supervisors, for heaven's sakes, in the room. And then all of you from DMARC and the other agencies, we're just so grateful that you would come here to talk about this problem, because I got to tell you, we shouldn't be here. We should not be in this room. We should be at home with our families, and we should be looking at our Christmas trees and thinking of ways to feed people instead of dealing with this kind of uncooperative action by the Food Bank of Iowa. Now, I think the city has to be diplomatic, and Althea has to be diplomatic. But I got to tell you, on behalf of the people on the advisory board, we're not happy about this, and we're not going to walk away from this because the coolers are empty. There was food in there just a few days ago, and now there isn't. And there, somewhere in this town, right here, West Des Moines, and in other areas of the city, there are people who don't have that fresh food that we were getting from Food Rescue. And why? Why? And what I read in the Des Moines Register is ridiculous. I think they made a very good effort to play both sides. But what I'm hearing about, that is not reality. Now, we're here for solutions, but the solutions may have to come, in time. We're going to have to, we haven't talked about this, but how are we going to get food on those shelves? So, I mean, and I got to say, I know that, the articles all talk about, we got to be balanced and everything. You know what? I'm calling out the Food Bank of Iowa and their board of directors for making this decision. There's no curtain behind which there's some person who's just come up with a policy. They came up with the policy, and that policy needs to change. But I think what we got to do is I'd like to go around the table, as you see in the agenda. We have, everyone needs to kind of come to the table and discuss this. But I wanted to put out in my opening comments what the advisory board thinks of this situation. There is so much to be done in this metro area for people who are low on food and run out of food, that we should not have to be here. So I think I'll begin, of course, since we have our hosts here, the city. Thank you very much for allowing us to have the meeting here in the council room. The times on the agenda are guidelines only. It's your show.
Okay. Well, Joe, I appreciate that. I understand. Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. We are all very passionate about serving the people, especially the people in need of assistance, low-income, elderly, disabled folks that rely on us every single day. That's why all of you serve on the West Des Moines Human Services Advisory Board, and that's why all the good people from DMARC are working hard to make sure that people get the food that they need. The Food Bank of Iowa cares about that as well. I came out today in the paper. I had a conversation with Michelle Book this morning from the Food Bank of Iowa. It was a very productive and good conversation. Had another conversation with her later in the day. And she has come forward and said that she'd be willing to work with the city of West Des Moines and West Des Moines Human Services to try to move forward to come up with a solution to get food to the people that need it. My biggest concern here tonight, and DMARC has been a great partner of ours, and I cannot say how much I appreciate that. I very greatly appreciate that. And Food Bank has been a partner of ours as well. My biggest concern here right now, I think, is the same as everybody in here. It's to get the people the food and to get them the food right now. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to talk about spilled milk. I want to figure out a way forward to get the people the food as quickly as we can get it to them. So she extended an olive branch. She is willing to work with us to move forward. That way that we've discussed moving forward, years and years ago, I've been involved with West Des Moines Human Services since probably about 2002, 2003, when I was appointed by former Mayor Gene Meyer to serve on the West Des Moines Human Services Advisory Board. DMARC has been operating with us, and I think the Food Bank as well, for a very long time. At the time when we started, we needed to have DMARC provide this partnership with us because we didn't even have a 501c3 ourselves. Now we've got the Friends of West Des Moines Human Services. I'm looking at that as an option that we can use going forward so that we can honor the policies and procedures of both DMARC and the Food Bank. There are other pantries that do this. It's a lot of work. I believe you've got to keep track of the food, which food is DMARC food, which food is Food Bank food. so that you can honor those policies and procedures. But I think there's a way that we can do that and get the food to the people that need it. We need to talk about the food rescue program. Michelle Book has told me she's willing to work to try to figure that out. As Councilman Lotz, who's been really working hard and bringing this issue forward, has pointed out at council meetings, we were averaging somewhere around 8,500 pounds of food a month that we were rescuing with our partners, and now we're down to 800. But she has given me her word that she will work to try to piece that back together in a way that makes sense. I don't know that it's going to be the same, partners that we had before. We do have a meeting set up on the 23rd to have further discussions, but I'm here tonight to listen to your feedback, your input, your concerns, your thoughts on how we move forward in the best way possible and the quickest way possible to get the food to the people in need. That is my biggest concern. I'm going to ask everybody here, I understand how angry people are. I understand how passionate people are here tonight. Pointing fingers and talking about spilled milk isn't going to do us any good. We want to try to get together to get the food to the people. So I look forward to hearing from everybody tonight and all of your concerns, all of your feedback. Thank you for being here and taking the time to do this.
Thank you very much. That's right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We have two councilmen, and you can certainly have all the time you want.
I'll be brief because I don't know that I can outdo our mayor here. He's passionate about this, and thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. I think there's a couple of goals: get the people the food that they need. I think there's some other things that we need to ask for in this process. I think we want to ask for open and transparent access to all the food banks' food. I know that there's other menus out there that they use for different things, and so we want to have access to all food, USDA and others. I want to restore the food rescue programs for West Des Moines, and I'd like to see that actually go metro-wide. And then I think, I negotiate a lot of contracts, and I'm not an attorney, but I have a lot of business interests, and so we negotiate corporate contracts. So whenever someone makes a demand for something, a new policy, something in a contract, there's always an ask back. And so if the food bank wants to have this 3-day supply of food at any given location, then I think we should be asking for something in return, and that should be backstopping any inventory shortages that could occur because of that. I only think that that's reasonable. So I'll stop there. I'll hand it over to Councilman McKinney for if he wants to do 2 minutes.
Thank you, Doug and Mayor, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you all for attending. And first of all, I want to say, been down to the pantry several times. We have a great facility down there. It does a lot of great work. I know Althea and several others are here tonight, and want to recognize that. And I know we've had a terrific partnership with DMARC and Matt. We've shared conversations, and I appreciate your openness to exploring how we can even further collaborate and make sure that food is getting to the residents here, especially at a time like this. And I know in the past we've had a great working relationship with the food bank. And Mayor, I'm encouraged by the comments you shared, and I'm looking forward to figuring out how we can get back on track. For me, this is like what you both said, and that is, we got to figure out, not point fingers, but figure out solutions. And for me, it's an all the above sort of strategy. If we can work with the food bank, if we can work with DMARC, if we can explore other opportunities to maximize the opportunity to have food at the West Des Moines Human Services at our pantry, that's a win for everybody. That's a win for our community. So I'm looking forward to hearing, feedback, hearing ideas, but that's the approach I'd prefer to take. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McKinney. Is there anyone here from the Food Bank of Iowa? I was informed they were not sending a representative. So in that case, we go right to the County Board of Supervisors. And I know who the spokesman is. Yeah.
working. What? All right. All right, thank you. Technology is baffling to me sometimes, especially the new microphones West Des Moines has. Been a long time since I've been in this chamber. I've represented West Des Moines for 12 years and was associated with the Human Services Office many, many times. And I've known Althea for years and Ann and many people in this room, including Matt. So it's good to be back. You've got a great representative now, and Angela Conley, my colleague, is representing West Des Moines, does a great job. You'll be picking up Matt McCoy on January 1st. So you're in a good representation here. I can just say that from the county's perspective, Food Bank of Iowa and DMARC have been terrific partners. We have got a lot of faith in them. They've done great work on both sides. They both serve populations that need to be served. We're trying to feed people that are food insecure, and many of them are senior citizens. People that have been forced into food pantries because of the inflationary cycle. It's going on in the grocery stores right now, so they're forced into food pantries. So we see a lot of folks that are in pantries that never there before. Those folks deserve to be fed too. They deserve to have their 3 days worth of food, or for 6 days, or whatever we decide on at the end of the day. It's kind of baffling to me that we got into this situation because both groups are great pillars of food and security solutions here. DMARC is, Food Bank is. And for us to have the situation that we have where we're actually feeding people less often and less than we did before, which I think is the case, particularly here in West Des Moines, then that's something that troubles all of us. But I think we're making progress. Russ and Tom Haddon and I have been working on this, the West Des Moines specifically, for the last couple of weeks. So the food bank's outreach to West Des Moines wasn't a total surprise, but glad to see it came because I think it's a model for others. Polk County has 2 pantries that we operate. One of them is quite large, River Place, and North Side is another one of Polk County's pantries. So Eric Cool is here with me tonight. He's our Director of Community Family Youth Services. Both pantries answer to him. So he's been intimately involved with what's going on between the Food Bank, DMARC, and all that. So we're in a similar situation. We're not a 501c3. It's been offered to us that possibly we come in like West Des Moines does at some point. We're certainly favorable to that idea, but we have some conditions, not conditions really, but some concerns, let's put it that way. We don't want to leave other pantries in the DMARC system out in the cold. That's one thing we want. If we come in, we want to come in with all the other pantries, have the opportunity for everyone to come in that wants to. Maybe not everybody wants to, but anyone that wants to should be able to come in. Russ talked a little bit, and so did Doug and Matt, about the 3 days worth of food, how it's separated between Food Bank and DMARC. I think that needs to be clarified, to the extent that it can be. We know 2 pantries are doing that right now and doing it successfully. And so there's no reason it can't be done here or in our pantry or any pantry for that matter. There's other concerns we have. We just want to get clarified. I don't think they're unreasonable. We're not trying to be unreasonable. I agree with Russ. We've got great partners here in the Metro, and they've done good work. So the time now is to put this behind us and find solutions and move ahead, because really what we want to do is feed people. We want people that are insecure to get food. And if somebody ends up keeping their job or losing their jobs, that's not my concern over at this point. What's the difference? Let's just get people fed and find a way to make that happen, starting as soon as we can and into the new year. So anyway, I'd be interested in hearing your comments too. Hopefully we can be of some assistance future forward.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. My name is Eric Cool. I'm the Director of Polk County Community Family and Youth Services, which is a social services division of the county. I'm Althea's counterpart in the county and have picked up a few things from her, so thank you for the good collaboration over the years. As Supervisor Brownell said, Polk County has 2 pantries, and I guess I'd like to spend some time just talking about our pantries and what we've seen as the impact of this disruption, maybe administrator level assessment of the community, and maybe where things are breaking down, and then maybe some suggestions, and I will leave the policy items to those who are more suited for that. So briefly, we do run the 2 pantries that Supervisor Brownell was talking about. For fiscal year 21-22, we serve nearly 9,000 unique households who collectively visited approximately 45,000 times, and that includes both the full check-in shopping experience as well as the daily free wall. We call it the free wall, where they can come in every day if they want and get items that have been picked up from local retailers. Those numbers I gave you represent about a 47% increase from the prior year. Nearly 60% of our residents or of our participants utilizing food pantries are female, and over 1/4 self-report being people of color. Most participants of our pantries report being housed, but both of our pantries also serve a good number of people that are unsheltered or have inconsistent housing day to day. And these individuals often come in daily for our free wall items, and that is really critical for their health and safety. And like was mentioned, like West Des Moines, Polk County pantries have not historically been eligible for a direct partnership with a food bank because we're governmental sponsored and not a 501c3. And for that reason, but for other reasons as well, we are part of the DMARC network. And I agree with what Supervisor Brownell said, which is we feel like it's a stronger network together, and that we would like all pantries to have equal access to the food bank food. So all of our Food Bank of Iowa inventory, which we are no longer receiving, was previously received and purchased and delivered from DMARC. For impact, since separation from the Food Bank of Iowa, we are most concerned about protein, eggs, milk, cheese, meat, and DMARC is trying real hard to fill this, to backfill this, but we very frequently have to let our shoppers know we don't have those items available, and that's hard. We had been receiving ready-to-go food from Eat Greater Des Moines, sandwiches and other ready-to-eat items. That was really important for our population that are experiencing homelessness, and we are no longer receiving that. We do receive some food from other local retailers, but it's pretty thin. It's usually just bread and sugary items, so it's not really the most ideal items. So more broadly, I'd just like to cover 3 topics, and then I'll get off the mic. One of them is just a couple point of clarifications of things that I see in the media. And one of them is that DMARC pantries already always have provided a 3-day supply of food. So that is something that gets reported without nuance incorrectly, and I just wanted to clear that up. All DMARC pantries do provide 12 pounds, 3-day supply of food. There's some trade-off there when you work with a network that allows people to have choice and dignity, so they can visit the pantry of their choice that has the inventory that they choose, the location that works best for them, the people that make them feel comfortable. There's some choice trade-off, but they're still getting a 3-day supply of food, and that sometimes is misrepresented. The separation of DMARC pantries from the food bank was really less an affirmative decision and more a matter of those pantries just being unable to immediately commit to new terms on short notice. No one really wanted to separate. It was just a question of, can we do this? And should we enter into an agreement if we're not sure we can do this? The really short notice requirement to DMARC pantries with, frankly, little meaningful discussion and which required change to the network model was really unrealistic. That said, truly no one disagrees with the goal of putting more food into communities. It is inherently really good Food Bank of Iowa leadership to encourage and support the community to do more, and they are really uniquely positioned to influence those goals. I would just say how we get there requires more planning. Number 2, I just want to recognize the existing landscape of food options in Polk County. Central Iowa and Polk County is filled with creative people and agencies that are getting food out to people in need. We think about Knock and Drop, Eat Greater Des Moines, school pantries and backpack programs, pantries for people experiencing homelessness, pantries that serve high numbers of specific populations such as refugees or seniors or veterans, pantries that are open all day, every business day, and then pantries that are only open a couple days a week or limited hours per week, but still very valuable in the time that they can remain open. There's the DMARC Pantry Network that increases the choice and maximizes procurement and provides mobile food pantries, which I also know have shown up at displacement activities such as large apartment fires, very valuable. And then pantries that combine food with other basic needs such as clothing and shoes, such as Bidwell Riverside and West Des Moines, of course. So I say this because the strength of the food distribution landscape in Polk County is its creativity and its grassroots knowledge of the needs, its understanding of how to best deploy its resources, and its diversity. All programs do not need to do things the same, and where they can't or where it doesn't fit their model, so long as it provides value, it deserves support. Not doing everything doesn't mean you should do nothing, And it doesn't make sense to lock out pantries who are doing a lot of good work just because they can't do all of the good work. And the Food Bank of Iowa has been a critical part of all these activities, and the organization really should be commended for moving so much food into so many communities. The scale is truly amazing. It's an indispensable resource. And so my only 3 thoughts for collaboration, and one of the items I think today was discussion, and where do we go from here? And so my thoughts are this: consider how to push forward with those high expectations without compromising the current effective distribution models or harming sustainability. Number 2, consider what requirements or limitations are self-imposed and discretionary versus required by law, regulation, or financial realities. And then really also consider the many important and generous local businesses that are deeply invested in this work, and the many caring managers and staff locally that have been so important to getting food out, and they're really just caught in the middle, and we just can't forget them. Thank you.
When we say Polk County, we mean Metro Des Moines. It's a Metro issue, not just a Polk County issue.
Thank you very much. Those are great comments. I'm going to pull a different play out of the playbook here. We're going to just hear from the DMARC, the Des Moines Area Religious Council food pantry. You have extra time.
Is there anybody here from the food bank?
Or excuse me, did I say? Oh, I asked that, yeah, and there wasn't.
There's nobody there? Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody here.
So we'll hear from them next. But we'll also have a little bit of time for those of you who are also here that you might want to make some short comments, for the good of the order. And then I'd like to lead a discussion of just where we go from here, what sort of action, we can take on a cooperative basis. I think at the end of the evening, we're probably going to have a small working group of all the parties concerned here to have a further discussion. So, I don't think we don't want to be here till midnight, and I don't think that would be the best use of our time. So be thinking about that if you have some comments that you'd like to make, those of you who are here. But now we'll go to the DMARC folks, and if you press that button, there you go.
Hi there, I'm Matt Unger. I'm the CEO at DMARC. I just want to talk a little bit about my background and kind of how our food pantry network is set up. So I'm not a stranger to food banking. It has never been my goal or the goal of our organization that the food bank looks like a villain in this situation. We just have a problem with this policy and being able to meet it. So prior to coming to DMARC, I spent over 6 years working at the food bank. I was brought on there to help make sure that food was being distributed more equitably across the entire 55 county service area through the work of a really hardworking team there that was able to be accomplished. It was a really hard goal to reach. I believe it was roughly 42 of the 55 counties that were out of compliance when we started and weren't meeting benchmarks for distribution across the state. So please understand that the success of the food bank is important to me, that it is a strong organization and a strong source of support for these organizations across that 55 county area. My own personal legacy is tied to the success of the food bank. So to see it be demonized or try to have insinuations that I want them to fail is ridiculous. Now to kind of talk a little bit about the emergency food system and kind of where DMARC sits in that. Kind of, if you're a food pantry, sort of your first stop is, okay, what is the food bank in my area that I can work with? And if you can meet the requirements of working with that food bank, it's the best resource for the cheapest food that you can get to help meet the needs of the community. Working with our food pantry network, the message and the goal is always get as much as you can from the food bank first, and then our model will come in on the backside of that. So again, if you're this standalone pantry, you can get maybe 50 to 75% of the food you need to meet the needs of the folks that you're serving at that pantry. The rest of it you have to purchase, you have to do food drives, you have to do food rescue. What the sort of ingenious model that the DMARC Food Pantry is it does that at scale. So as a group of 15 pantries, we come in and are able to buy in large bulk for those 15 pantries, those items that we're not able to get on a consistent basis from the food bank. Because our network is built on 3 pillars. The first is providing a dignified experience as close to grocery shopping as we can make it. The second is providing healthy, nutritious foods so that we're not complicating any of the health issues that lower income people are already facing, and we know that they're facing. You know, the foods that are, let's say, worse for you are cheaper, and so if your resources are slim, you're not getting the best foods all the time. So we try to make sure we're providing nutritious foods. We put a premium on supplying as much produce as we possibly can. And then the third pillar is a commitment to collecting data. And that's kind of the big piece of the network, is everyone is on the same sort of intake system. So when you come to a DMARC pantry, the first time you come in, you go through kind of a 15-question questionnaire. And a lot of it's just getting your general contact information. But then we ask some questions about the circumstances that they're facing. Because ultimately, if we're gonna solve food insecurity, we're not gonna solve food insecurity by simply giving people food. We need to get to these root cause issues that are driving them into food insecurity in the first place. And the way we do that is by understanding their situations and then trying to lobby with policymakers to make sure that the laws and the policies we have in place allow for that success. So kind of how we're able to do that is by having this equitable system across our network. And so no matter which of the pantries you go to, because we've got this backfill system that DMARC provides, you can know that you can get the same things across our entire network. You know, many years ago, DMARC was set up where each of the pantries had their own boundaries, and maybe you worked in Pleasant Hill, but you lived in Urbandale, and your work hours, you couldn't get to the Urbandale pantry when it was open, but you weren't allowed to go to the Pleasant Hill pantry. So we wanted to eliminate those borders and really make it so, you know, no matter where you are, geography shouldn't be a barrier, what's available at the pantry shouldn't be a barrier. It should be just like grocery shopping. If you go to a Hy-Vee, most of the Hy-Vees have the same things. You don't have to go to one Hy-Vee to get meat and another Hy-Vee to get your bread and another Hy-Vee to get your eggs. And that's what we wanted to try to mimic in our network. And I think for the most part, we've been successful in doing that. And the other thing I want to mention is that we do not run this network as a dictatorship. We have regular meetings with all the directors of our pantries where we make decisions together. When this policy was offered, I asked everyone immediately, please don't sign this yet. Let's have a conversation about what this means for us as a group. And then was very clear that I am not trying to make anyone make any single decision. I think, you know, it's pretty common knowledge. 4 of our pantries did sign the agreement and are going forward with it. And that is the decision that I left to them. As a network, there were a lot of concerns for unintended consequences of this policy. And we just want to find a way to get to a middle road where, you know, there's things we're willing to bend on, and hopefully the other side is willing to bend on some things as well. But look forward to talking about a forward-focused path for all of us and trying to make sure that, again, at the end of the day, if there's anything that is difficult about this situation, or kind of breaks my heart, is that we're talking about organizations and not people in need. Because the center of all of this and the reason we all do this work is to try and help people who just need a little extra help. So I kind of conclude my opening comments there and hand off to my board chair.
Well, my name's Denise Bubeck, and I am the president of the board of directors for DMARC. And thank you so much for having this meeting, all of you tonight, and bringing us all together, because as Matt said tonight, really that is why we're here, for the people who need us most. And I think that's why we're all on the board of DMARC, is because that's where our heart is. And this is interruptive and disruptive and so many words like that. I'm not going to say a lot because we, as a board, we trust Matt. We trust our staff. They work hard every day on the front lines, helping people, serving people, giving so much time to this. And as a board chair, I completely trust what Matt is saying, and he's been working tirelessly on this since September. And I am so thankful for this meeting because we need to move on. We've got so much work to do. There's so much need, and we want to come to a resolution. So thank you.
I'm Emily Webb, and I have been on the board for 6 years, former board chair. Thankful that Denise is taking that on for us right now, but also thankful that
Good timing.
yes, agreed. And I won't say much, but I do want to add one comment, which is that I am a corporate attorney, and I do corporate contracts for a living, literally my job. And it's very rare to get a contract that is mandatory, that you have to sign an addendum without any conversation or open discussion or edits that you're allowed to make on the other side. So it's normal to have an open negotiation, and it's unfortunate we have not been able to do that, but I'm hopeful that we can get there.
I'm Pastor Rachel Mithelman. I've been on the board for 1 term, so 3 years. The thing I simply want to add, for those that don't know the people on this board, we do absolutely trust Matt, but we're not a rubber stamp. This is a board that communicates, and Matt communicates with us all the time. So we are not folks that are just saying, you take care of it, Matt. This is a very active, informed, intelligent, questioning board. We support Matt 100%, but we're not just rubber stampers. We are an active board.
My name is Isan Yassin. I've been in the board for about 5 years. Yeah, for about 5 years. I'm proud to work with this great team. I work directly with a lot of low-income families, children, and I see the hunger in them. I experienced that with them, and I saw the effect of their learning and development as an educator. I work in a nonprofit, a private school and childcare. Most of our customers are either immigrants, refugees, low-income families, and they come from different backgrounds. So I give my big support to Matt, to the board, and I'm glad that we're here to move forward to help, continue helping the families and the children.
Luai Amro, and I'm also sitting on the board here. I've been at the board for about 2 years, and I'm not just going to echo what everybody said. Thank you, Matt, for taking the time and explaining all this. I just want to say one thing. There is no winner here if we don't have a solution. I mean, I can't think of a way or a situation or a solution that either us or them or anybody in this room or in the community is going to win with this. So we have to find a solution, and it just makes it hard for me to walk in a meeting with the people we want to discuss the matter with. They don't show up. So, but we have to find a way to do it because the stakes are high.
Thank you. I am Shashank Arora, and I am probably the newest board member at DMARC. Been there for 3 to 4 months. So this is definitely very interesting for me. What is going on? For me, my attachment to DMARC came when I started working with the Des Moines Public Schools. And I have seen the amount of food insecurity. And I have seen situations where students come to school just for a square meal. And here we are in a situation where we can't rescue food, it's being wasted. Something which I fail to understand is why mend something which is not broken. It was going absolutely fine. And as my board fellow colleague mentioned, it's very difficult to have a discussion with the other party when the other party is not here. So the way I look into it, we may discuss it, we may have solutions, but if they don't want to play ball, I don't know where we're going to go with this. Thank you.
I turned off. Okay. I am Rachel Murdoch. I've been on the board, I think, 3 years. I really don't know. It's been a while. I came to the board through my church, which is really how DMARC started, was a bunch of churches getting together saying, how can we help people better? We can combine our efforts. And it's, yeah. So I come from it, and that's how I got here, and that's how I would like to see in my work, in my responsibilities in my church or my volunteer at the church. This is what brought me to the board, but it also brings me to my work with refugees, and we set up homes and we help them learn how to ride buses and work with 4 different refugee organizations, and they're super cooperative with each other. They are very willing to share ideas, and we share volunteers, and I would certainly like to see that model in our food insecurity community as well. I just don't understand not being cooperative. We're just trying to help people, and if we're trying to help people, then we ought to be cooperating with each other. So that's my thought.
Hi, I'm Lisa Logan. I've been on the board about 2 years. I am the president-elect of the board, so I hope we have all this settled by the time it's my turn. I came to the board because I was asked to be a part of it. As a child, I was food insecure, so this is near and dear to my heart for a long time as a child. So when I see this, it's like we're all like-minded people, right? Like this is what we want to do, is we want to help people who are food insecure. But until I really became a part of the board, and I never realized before, though, how much there can be different opinions about how things should be done. If we're all working together, then to me it's unfathomable how we're not working together. So not pointing fingers, I'm just saying in general. Like if there's 2 organizations or 5 organizations or whatever, that they're all supposed to be working together, but really when you get in a room, sometimes they're not working together. To me, I still have a hard time understanding that. So I'm learning as we go for those different processes. But what the other part of this is that just listening to what we've heard so far tonight is the crippling effect that this is having, and then it goes so much deeper than I had even realized before tonight. So it is a good thing to find a way forward and for us all to work together. And I'm hopeful that we can get that done, because this is the season of hope. And I'm sure that with our great leaders, all in this room tonight, that we'll be able to find a way forward.
There we go. Thank you very much for all of your comments, and thank you so much from our elected officials. What I thought we would do is, since I spoke for the advisory board, maybe there's some advisory board members who would like to, maybe 1 or 2 would like to add their comments. But before Althea gets away, I wanted to put her on the spot, because I think it would be consistent for you to just share the impacts that you've had, or whatever you want to add. So would you go first, and then I'll call, and then if anybody else has something they want to say.
Push them, give it a second to go on. If it doesn't go on, so you push it again, you turn it on and off, on and off.
Really, I don't need a microphone, you can all hear me, right?
leadership wants and let I'm sorry. I am the most biggest techno dummy in the whole wide world. But I really want to say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. This has been a very challenging situation for all of us. And of course, my heart is West Des Moines. And so I see what happens to my my homeless guy that comes every morning to eat. And he's not eating right now. So Doug tells me I'm too emotional, so I'm gonna stop. I would just let you know that Greg is hungry.
I will turn the microphone on for whoever wants it.
I didn't turn it off, I promise.
Does anybody on?
Hi, my name is Tiffany Birkenes, and I'm here representing the West Des Moines Human Rights Commission. I also want to thank everyone for being here. It takes a village. This is absolutely a human rights issue, food and nutrition security. And I think the questions that I have, I'm unable to stay for the entire meeting. I know this has come up, is definitely access. And keeping in mind, I mentioned the older adults, but also thinking of those I've seen in the articles as far as food pantries at the schools. Not everybody is connected to the schools. And how are we communicating the information on how to access the pantries? And that's where it comes to, my other question would be, while we're seeking solutions and having these conversations, what are we doing for these people that are in immediate need, and how can we support them? So I think that needs to happen simultaneously. And the other thing too is to keep in mind just how this impacts individuals' overall well-being, not just physical, but also mental. So thank you.
I think that's great, and that was something I was gonna I'll riff off that when we get to a discussion. Probably, you know, there's some clear, our elected officials have some clear ideas in where they're going in the conversations, is Mayor Trimble, and then those interim. I wanted to really bring that up because what's his name? Greg. Greg is hungry. That's kind of a bottom line here. So. Would anyone else, do we have any other organizations here? Otherwise, yes, it's on.
Hi, my name is Ann Bacon with Impact Community Action Partnership. And first, I wanted to really thank West Des Moines for holding this meeting. There's been nothing more maddening since August of feeling like I'm in a deep well with an echo chamber, with an inability to actually have robust conversation. DMARC has been there every minute with every question I've had, and to say that you only provide 50 to 25% of what we need is a gross understatement. When we were faced with a choice, which it felt like we were, DMARC was the easiest choice, but we never asked to terminate our contract. We never did that. We asked to have more time. But with that, I wanted to also thank all of the governmental officials here. But as a nonprofit that operates 2 food pantries, plus one that does an online ordering that delivers to families, if we only solve this problem about people who don't have 501c3s, we still have a massive issue. We don't have enough food. We have shelves that are empty. We have refrigerators that are empty. We also have similar people we see every day that are disappointed. But when I keep looking at this issue, one of the things that's the fastest solution is to add boundaries. If we added boundaries, we could turn people away. I mean, we don't want to turn people away. We want to serve as many as possible. But the lack of boundaries makes it possible. I looked before I came. Our Drake Pantry alone served 103 families from West Des Moines last year because they didn't have to try to figure out where to go. And I'm sure across the network that was many other places. So we are so thankful that you're here having this discussion, and it is going to hopefully change things. It's a complicated issue. It can't be solved in sound bites. That's part of the media problem, I think. But the partnership and collaboration work has to happen. And it is disappointing that we're trying to do partnership and collaboration work without everyone at the table. But we are always willing to be at the table. We just wanted to make sure that was known.
Thank you. It's on. You don't need to press it.
I'm not touching a thing. Andrea Cook, I'm with the Johnston Partnership. We are a DMARC pantry in Johnston. We do backpacks, we do weekend food, we do food pantry, clothing closet, all that. Yes, the people that are coming every day. The tough choices that we're making, just like our families. We're spending money in places that we didn't imagine because we're trying to make sure that there's something for people when they show up because they need us and they need us every day. So thank you for being a part of this, and let's just get it figured out. I want to get to the end. Thank you.
Okay, I see a hand.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Alvarez. I'm the executive director with Eat Greater Des Moines. I am sad that the rest of you are in this situation. I think we've been in it for 9 years. And I think what's unfortunate is everybody else in the room, every other food organization, everybody else wants to work together, and we do work together, and we don't make people choose between which organization. I think what's frustrating is Eat Greater Des Moines, we're not a pantry, we'll never be a pantry. We've really just formed to fill the cracks, and a big way that we're able to do that is through food rescue and trying to pick up food and deliver it to the groups and the places where it can be used. And so, I think this situation has put, we know that there's 500,000 pounds in just West Des Moines every month that's available. And one of our biggest challenges is not being allowed to go pick that up. Even if the business wants to donate that food, again, we have a policy in place that's not a real law. And I think that's where some of this stuff keeps getting stuck, and Eric kind of brought it up, is what's law and what's someone's opinion and what they would like it to be. I think, again, we have the food here. We have the groups, we have the organizations that want to feed people, and letting one organization or entity prevent that from happening is unfortunate. So my hope, I'm glad that there has been progress. I think through history, we've seen that that doesn't always come to fruition. And my hope is that, again, this isn't just a West Des Moines issue. This is a metro issue. This is impacting everybody, and not just here. It impacts everyone through the 55 county network. So my real hope is that the conversations here and decisions and trying to move forward towards something that everyone can be a part of is something that will continue to drive and push forward, and just put people first, not policy.
We're still doing good on time. Anybody else want to make some comments here?
Hi, I'm Becky Whitlow. I'm the Food Pantry Network Director for DMARC. And food rescue for DMARC lands under my position. The retail outlets that we were picking up that we are no longer allowed to pick up at were approximately 30 to 40,000 pounds a month that we were picking up and distributing through the network to the pantries according to their need. We have lost that ability. We are not allowed to go to those accounts and pick that up. But my drivers were very good at knowing what each pantry needed. Like, this pantry already has a source of milk, so we aren't going to provide milk there. We're going to drop it at the pantry that doesn't have a source of milk. And I feel like that has been probably one of the major impacts that we have. We can replace the canned goods, okay, very easily. It costs us more money. It takes more resources, but we can replace the canned goods that we were getting from the food bank. It's that food rescue relationship that has been eliminated that has hurt the pantries more than anything, as far as I'm concerned. The other concern I have is that all of a sudden, I think these 15 pantries in the Des Moines area probably serve a larger amount of people than a lot of the other small pantries. They have lost access to USDA and TFAP food that previously they had access to. And I think that is an important point. I don't know if the USDA would be really happy if they found out that, 17,000, 20,000 people a month that we are serving no longer have access to that food.
So my name's Joe Dolek. I'm the operations manager at DMARC. I've been with DMARC nearly 10 years. The one unique perspective that I've always had and I've been proud to have is when DMARC started our mobile food pantries that Eric mentioned before, and now we have our DMARC on the south side. I've had the ability to be firsthand with the people that we're assisting, with the visitors that come in. And I have a few board members up there, Rachel and Lisa, and my colleagues, Drea, over here, that have had to say in Athea, no, I'm sorry, we don't have eggs today. No, I'm sorry. And we are the ones, our pantry and our staff are the ones that are having to say, when we're being asked why, we're the ones having to say to the people that we're assisting, I don't know. I don't know why this, at first it was I don't know, now it's I don't know why the food bank has done this. If anything comes out, I couldn't care less about anyone else's opinion in this room other than the people that we're assisting to be able to get them the resources. And if there's anything I've known from my tenure with DMARC is that we have worked countlessly in partnership with anybody and everybody that we could that's wanted to come into space to help. So no matter what decisions get made up above, make sure that we're doing those for the people that we're assisting, for the people that our volunteers, our staff members on the ground are having to say, I don't know why. I really don't. And it's heartbreaking. We're trying to do the best we can with the resources we have, which means we are transferring some items that would typically be reserved for monthly or the monthly visit over so that we have something to give. In the meantime, as a stopgap until we can find a broader solution. But having to answer that why is heartbreaking and not having a good answer for them. So that's what I just wanted to share.
Thank you for that. Any board member, advisory board? Oh, yeah. Yes.
Hi, Megan Oman. I am the chair for the Friends Foundation. So really happy this meeting is happening. We are more than ready to support in any way possible. I just want to help solve in the interim. We can get to that full-term solution, but ultimately it's cold, things are expensive, we just need to find a solution. So looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, I think we should kind of shift gears here. I think Mayor, you were discussing that, you were going to have further conversations. That's very positive. You got the Board of Supervisors in there with you. Honestly, I came here personally thinking social action, okay? I know I don't look like a 1960s radical or anything like that, but man, it worked back then. And that's what I came here thinking about. But I'm going to try to stick with the MC role. I was prepared to protest here, okay? I mean, it may come to that, but you know what? I was on the board of directors of the Catholic Charities for 9 years, and I know that if you give anybody an excuse to not contribute to a charitable organization, they unfortunately hear it. And honestly, that's where I'm coming from. And I know that's not what has been discussed, but that was, there has been a lot of conversations up to this point. And I really am pleased that there's still an open line, so to speak. But we go back to, what do we do in the meantime? Would that be the best thing to discuss tonight? Canned goods, yeah, we got to buy that. And maybe the Friends Foundation would have a fundraiser or something like that. That was another thing, was, make a further appeal and try to buy some of this. But are there any ideas for what could be done in the interim? Mayor?
I just want to say one thing that you just hit on, Joe, and I think it's a very good point. I mean, we across this metro have unbelievable people. Our citizens are very caring, very kind, and we've got great corporate citizens as well. So I think one thing we're going to want to do is try to make sure that we get out a website, a link that people can click on, and we have a call to action, and we ask for our generous citizens and corporate citizens who have been so generous to go to that link, drive their employees to the link, and donate. And I know that we're during the holiday season, and staffing is difficult and everything else. So donate money if they can, rather than bring in the food items, and indicate that they would like this to go towards purchase of food for this network that needs the food so badly. I don't know if there's, we've got a website on West Des Moines Human Services where you can donate. I don't know if DMARC has a website. That's the problem, is where do we drive people that want to help? And we want the entire network to be helped. So I just don't know, but I think tonight we should try to get that out in the media.
And
Yes,
have
our
it be
people will
centered-
come. If we call, they will come.
And have it be centered around solving the immediate food
The
rescue
immediate
issue.
need while we work on getting a permanent solution in place.
Do we have an estimated number that we're aiming for? Is it specific to this area, or is it expand broader?
In West Des Moines alone, it's around 7,500 pounds per month.
And then back there was a number, pretty big number. Food rescue.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what I was wondering is, has anyone talked to Hy-Vee? We have a unique opportunity that not many communities have with having Hy-Vee headquartered here, Casey's headquartered nearby, Come and Go, Fairway. All of those companies can choose to not go along with we've never seen the contract. We don't know what it looks like. But again, there are plenty of other organizations like Trader Joe's, like Whole Foods, that say you can start with Feeding America.
We've talked to most.
Well, could anyone here talk to someone? Because again, the food is here. And I think there are stores who were donating consistently who are being put in the middle again. And I think what we've said is none of these stores should have to choose between which organization they're trying to support. None of them want to throw that food away at the end of the day. We have complicated their lives. So again, providing transparency on which organizations are participating, which stores are not, and where the food is going. Again, I know New Virginia came up as an example. New Virginia they didn't go chase down that Hy-Vee, they were offered it. So the food bank knows which grocery stores are participating and which one are not. We have a list of 500 that we have a pretty good idea of who's participating and who isn't. What we haven't been able to get over is this agreement that they're not allowed to donate beyond Feeding America. And I don't think that agreement is benefiting anybody.
So I would just defer to Councilman Lotz on as far as Hy-Vee and their involvement.
Yeah, so Mayor Trimble and I had a call with Hy-Vee today, and we've talked about doing store-specific marketing campaigns to fill some of the food rescue opportunities, and maybe we should ask Hy-Vee if they can expand that to other communities. They've been very receptive and helpful to try to backfill where necessary and where they can help. So I want to thank them for that effort. They've been true partners with us, and this is, by the way, just developing like at 3 o'clock this afternoon because we've asked them for that. And so maybe the next conversation we say, can we expand that footprint a little bit? I think Supervisor Brownell wants to chat quick.
Yeah, Aubrey, and I'm going to recognize Aubrey for a second here. Aubrey has been a great partner and absolutely indispensable in helping our refugee and immigrant population with the food rescue she's brought to them. So thanks so much for that, Aubrey. You're doing great work. What I don't know, though, and maybe you know this, Aubrey, or we can talk later, is how are these food rescue getting picked up? Because one of my concerns, not concerns, but one of my speculations was going into this, Food Bank doesn't have the equipment to pick this stuff up. DMARC was picking it up before. We were told to stop. So how's it getting picked up now? And I got a feeling that it's not getting picked up, A, and B, if it's not, what's happening to it? I'd say the dumpster, probably. And C, if it is getting picked up, who's getting it and has it more than they can handle? I think it is more than they can handle. I hear stories. It's not anecdotal, but you know, the problem was going to these corporate suits, and I'm not getting on corporate suits because I used to be a corporate suit myself, but is that they get tax credit, they get tax advantages for food rescue, and so diverting it somewhere else may not be in their interest. Now, the people on the dock, yeah, they'd agree with you, but the people upstairs, maybe not. So I think we got to figure out what we need to do to replace the food rescue, and that probably translates into dollars. And when this all started, Matt Unger and I talked, and I said, what is it going to take in terms of money in order to make you whole to replace what Food Bank's giving you right now? It's a big number, by the way, big number. Not that we couldn't handle it, but we're not there yet. So, and we hope we don't get there, because I want to get that food rescue back. That's key. It really is. Of all the stuff we're talking about right now, I mean, we could do a lot of things differently, but the food rescue is something we can't do without. You know, Greg here is going to be coming to Althea tomorrow, and what he used to eat was food rescue. Well, it ain't there anymore. So what are we going to do? So this is what we need to get fixed. And if we need to go out and buy it, then maybe that's the short-term solution. The long-term solution isn't to buy it. The long-term solution is to get this freight back. But I guess I'd like to know from you, Aubrey, and maybe we can do this later on, is how's this stuff getting picked up? And is it getting picked up?
Larry, we got Larry back there for the West Des Moines. Larry picks up 8,500 pounds every month from West Des Moines.
Well, and that's kind of, I think, what's happening right now. For example, New Virginia, they have one person who's driving from New Virginia here. So it sounds like the food bank has reached out to their network and offered these opportunities like the Walmarts and the Targets and these come and goes to other smaller pantries. I think what we're seeing is not many of these pantries have the capacity to pick it up on a consistent basis, which makes it difficult for the stores. And that's, again, something we've tried to do between, you know, even within our network, no one entity can do it all by themselves. DMARC does a lot. Everyone here has their own ways. We have a group, we have 800 volunteers in our app who are ready to pick up and deliver this food. We're not being allowed to get it. And that's the part. Hy-Vee or any of these companies would and will get their tax benefits. It's not, you don't only get it because you work through Feeding America. It's just one avenue for it. So if it's they don't want to get tax receipts from 15 organizations, we would easily send all of our information to one. I think that's one of the things that we've talked about is if it's about numbers or data or who gets credit for it, none of us want that. We just want the food. So I think that's the part is the food is there. It's going in the garbage. We've had come and go stores call us just frustrated because there's totes full and no one's there to pick it up. So there hasn't been very much transparency within the food rescue space, and I think that's where there's a ton of opportunity.
Just to give a quick idea, when we would pick up every Wednesday at Sam's Club and Walmart in Windsor Heights, we would have about 13 to 15 pallets, which that will not fit in your standard 26-foot Penske truck. So that is actually going there twice. So we would actually pick up, distribute out, and then go back and pick up again. There's no way a cargo van can do that. And I don't know what's currently happening, but I just want to give a visual of that.
I've heard that they've had some entities are showing up like in SUVs and
crazy. It's crazy. That's why I want to put on a tie-dye shirt and go out in front of the food bank and march up and down, because honestly, when you tell anybody this, they can't believe it. You know, cooperation, comedy, that's the name of the game when you're serving the poor. And I see somebody else wants to say something.
I have two things. I heard directly that there is a giant Costco pickup in Ankeny, at least once a week, that can't be handled by the entity that's been asked to do it. And the other thing, I think we should ask if we could have a 3-month reversion. Give us 3 months back, and then have us all come to the table and talk about how the Food Network works in Polk County and what will best serve the people of Polk County. I mean, that would be my dream, is can we get this just turned back on and then have a discussion about how to best meet their mission, our mission, everybody's mission.
Victor.
Yes, thank you. I'm Victor Duchek. I'm a member of the Human Services Board, Chair-elect, so I share your sentiments. When I talk to others about the situation and bring awareness, you're right, there's disbelief, like they don't believe it or understand it. And I don't either, because the biggest question is why? Like, why were these decisions made? And, you know, we don't have the food bank here to participate, so we can't ask and we can't get their view on what's going on. So I think that's going to be a huge obstacle in coming up with a permanent solution if they don't have their input. But my question for Doug is when you met with Hy-Vee, I'd like to know what their reasoning is for not swinging the doors wide open and letting us come in like we were before to get the food. I mean, I know it's part of Feeding America and whatnot, but I'd like to know what their underlying reasoning is, why there's any hesitancy at all as to why they won't participate.
So they do participate quite a bit, actually probably more than anybody else. A lot of their food is committed to places that are either local churches. They don't have a Feeding America contract to the extent that it comes to food rescue. They have a marketing agreement, and I don't want to speak for their private contracts, but they don't have a contract to do that food rescue with Feeding America like other retailers. And so what they're trying to do is fill those needs on the most local basis that they can. And so some of that was dictated by the food bank, some of that is dictated by the store directors, and it's very situational for them because Hy-Vee's business model has always been to embed yourself in your community and serve that community. And so they're trying to do that at the lowest level, which is the store. So we've asked them for a lot of help here. They've come to the table in a way privately that I think is really helpful. And so I think to Aubrey's point earlier, can we extend some of that help? They have offered to help us run campaigns to fill this gap until a permanent solution is there. And so I think that I want to be very thankful and transparent about, like, they are coming to bat here and they're helping where they can. This is, as we all know in this room, a complex situation and a complex sort of ecosystem because the people who are food insecure, they come in all stripes from all backgrounds. Some are young, some are old. They have all kinds of different situations. And so it takes a lot of different avenues to meet those needs. It's not one simple solution. And so I think that's why it's so important to have this kind of a dialogue to include our corporate partners. I've been talking to people all over town. Anybody that will listen to Doug for 15 minutes has heard about this in the last 2 months. So, yeah. And so, I feel passionate about it. I do need, I think that there is recourse here to get to a solution that includes everyone, including the food bank. I have had my own challenges in dealing with them directly, but I know others, like the mayor, have been successful. The devil's going to be in the details of the negotiation. I think Supervisor Brownell, you said it really well. We should not leave the broader metro network out of the situation, and I think we need to work together to find that solution. I thought I knew a lot about this coming into it when my good dear friend Deanne Howard called me in October and said, "Do you know what's going on?" And I wasn't really, like, I was busy with city council meetings, not paying attention to human services. And then I've learned so much. And to the untrained eye, it's easy to say, hey, everything's hunky-dory and okay, but everybody in this room, I think, can speak to that it's not. And so how do we find a solution that is good for everybody, including the food bank? And that's what I want to say.
Can I go ahead. Go ahead. I'll borrow this for a minute because I think that might be an action item would be to form a working group of the parties here to work on an interim, and as Supervisor Brownell said, metro area interim solution. You know, we need some money. With partnering with businesses, partnering with charities that could raise some money. You know, go to our supporters out there. You know, DMARC and the communities that support them to raise money on an interim basis, while our elected officials, who apparently when you call, people pick up the phone.
I wish that was the case. That's not the case. But no. But I guess what's frustrating to me is that, and I'm hearing a lot of interesting things here tonight. This is a very productive meeting. Is first of all, Michelle Book ensured me we would have a conversation about food rescue and where we can go from here. That's an extremely important part of this, as Supervisor Brownell and so many of you have talked about. But what's frustrating to me, and Councilman McKinney and I had a conversation with Michelle, and you know, I understand there are a lot of people in need. There's a lot of food insecurity all across the state, right? They serve 55 counties, the food bank, and they're trying to meet the need across the state, not just Metro Des Moines. But what's frustrating to me is that once that food rescue program was turned off, you know, we asked, well, you know, can we stop? Can we back up? Can we turn it back on? We've got an unbelievable need here that's probably greater than anywhere else in the state. Can we turn that back on? The fact that, I mean, there's obviously need in New Virginia, okay? There's obviously need there. But I believe the New Virginia, the city of New Virginia, they're getting the food that's coming from, I believe the Fast and Fresh on Grand. And Aldi's as well. Those two stores, I mean, obviously provide a lot of food, because our food per pound has gone down from like 8,500 to 800. And those two stores make up a big portion of that difference. You can't tell me that New Virginia has that same kind of need that we do. So there's a mismatch going on here. I understand there's need. We want to feed all Iowans, not just Metro Iowans. And the food bank wants to do that. But there seems to be this mismatch. And if we can't turn the thing back on, and now we have to go back in the end of the line, I don't understand that. And maybe if that's the case, maybe we can work to better match up where the food is being rescued and where it's going, so that we better match up the need, so we're not having waste so much. You know, maybe there's some other stores in the metro that, you know, I don't know if Fairway participates, or other stores that could have a lot of food that we could rescue, and we could get in on that if they're willing to participate. But there just seems to be this big mismatch, regardless of what's going on, regardless of the fact that, I mean, New Virginia kind of points this out, really, in my opinion. So I'm hopeful that we can figure out something on the food rescue. That is an integral part of this. Michelle ensured me that this would be part of the discussion and we'd figure out a path forward. But this is a network, and we need to figure out a path forward together. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think, Mayor, you accurately captured an important part of that conversation that we had with Michelle, and that is, how can we most efficiently allocate those resources? And it's not lost on me, or I don't believe on us, that the food bank does provide many other services in the city of West Des Moines. And we are grateful for the different pantries and different opportunities at schools and other locations in our community. So I don't want to lose that. But as it relates to the food rescue, and specifically, what I've learned through this process, food rescue, obviously, I think we all understand, when the food is, near its expiration. But, in visiting with you yesterday, Althea, down there, what does that mean for when you walk in there? You might see a lot of non-perishable goods on the shelves, or I shouldn't say a lot, but when you look at the shelves, you've got non-perishable goods there. But it's when you open, exactly. Thank you, Althea. You're exactly right. And because of DMARC. But when we open the refrigerator, when you open the freezer, that's where you don't see the milk, the egg, the cheese, the meat. And that's really, if we want to talk about, where our need is, I mean, the need is across the board, don't get me wrong. But specifically, those are the sorts of things that, we need at this point in time. And, one of the, I think, comments that I heard here was, what do we do in the interim? And, for me, and what my goal would be, and I think, a good goal here is, let's not let the technicalities, I think I heard this kind of sentiment earlier, let's not let the technicalities, the legalities, the whatever alities there are out there get in the way of an efficient distribution of these resources. And so, in my opinion, this is the sort of thing where we try to turn everything back on as quickly as it can. And in the time from which we can turn it on, if we could turn it on tomorrow, to the time where we can formalize an agreement, we act in good faith. We come together and collaborate as one to do the most amount of good for the most amount of people that we can. And so, that's kind of the theory is turn it on as quickly as you can. Let's dot the I's and cross the T's. We all know that this worked over the course of time. So let's just, put the train back on the tracks and then figure out the paperwork as we move forward. And I'm hopeful, Mayor, that perhaps that's part of this olive branch that you've described today. And I look forward to seeing where that goes.
Maybe we need to put Councilman McKinney on the food bank, Iowa board. And we have someone back there, and then I'll come over there.
Hopefully, wow, I'll turn it on the first time. All right. I know. My name is Karen Smith. I am on the board of the West Des Moines Human Services. I want to thank Aubrey for educating me so much about food rescue. I'm wondering if one of the solutions could be, we know we have food. We know that our stores maybe don't feel comfortable giving it to not to the right party that they either have a contract or an agreement with. But if a store has a volume of food to donate or to be rescued that day and it isn't picked up by a certain time, or even if the food bank in our discussions would realize we're not able to get that food picked up today, could there be some type of an alternate solution proposed and then make that food available for another food rescue partner to come and get that food instead of throwing it away? I think that could be until we find a better way. Why throw it away just because they know, I'm sure the stores know who all they can reach out to come and get the food. So I just, offer that as a solution that we're helping food bank by not throwing it away and say, we'll come and rescue it if you're not able to get to it that day.
Could we have one store, could Hy-Vee provide some to New Virginia and also then the rest of it to us? Does there have to be one contract, one place to go?
I'm gonna run the mics around.
Okay, yeah. I'm running out of steps there.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question. So I just want to make sure I understand. So the discussion you had with Michelle, now has the topic about turning it on while we're discussing or negotiating, has it come up? I just want to make sure I understood your comment. Are they willing, or is this idea acceptable to them? That's the first question. Yeah, food bank. Yeah, for the food rescue. That's exactly.
We made sure that that was going to definitely be a part of the discussion, that that was important to us. And
So we didn't get any response from them. We don't have any feeling about it, if they're against it
no,
or for it.
no, she said that she would be willing to work with us to try to figure that out.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what her parameters are, but the lines of communication are open and we are having a discussion. And I'm just thrilled that they're back at the table because there was a while where they weren't at the table and they walked away.
Okay. Now, the second question is, do we know when we reach an agreement, is this overnight, turn the switch on and we're back in business, or is this going to take time? And the reason I'm asking for this, I mean, before we start thinking about interim solution, I mean, we need to understand the scope and we understand the term and we understand the length and all of that. And so all of these questions, we really will, when you're having discussion with them, I think will be beneficial for us as a board member, as DMARC, to understand, to make what is the next step. And the last thing I just want to mention here, we all talked about the need in the community, but the impact is not just impacting the people who are in need, but just understand, as a donor to the food bank or to DMARC, if the trust that we worked on for years and years and it starts shaking in the community, that donation is not going to come. They're not going to come. And the stores are watching us fighting who they need, who they should give the food to. Just think about the household, the one who gives the $10 and $15 and $50. With this time, they're going to think not twice, they're going to think 10 times before they start giving this, because there are a lot of organizations that are asking for money. So they just keep, I mean, I hope they understand the food bank, the difficulties that we're having, not just feeding people, but also damaging the reputation that all of them worked on it so hard.
There's a couple things I want to mention. Matt talked about a bunch of alities, and I want to talk about a harsh reality. The things we lose for food rescue are going to be the absolute most expensive things to try to buy. So to try to fundraise our way out of it is honestly a millions of dollars proposition that we're talking about. The other thing I want to make sure we're all cognizant of is, as hard as it's been losing this food rescue, someone else has started picking this up now. So to just flip the switch and turn everything back, we're hurting someone else too. And I don't want to lose sight of that, you know, this whole thing is a system. And when you throw a wrench in it, you can't just pull that wrench back out. Like, we're going to have to reform this whole food rescue ecosystem that we had built up over a lot of time. I mean, organizations had people hired just to do this that then lost the ability to pick these things up. And we've got other organizations that are bending over backwards trying to make it work. You know, a couple of the organizations in our network who have taken on a lot of these are struggling, and really their teams are stressed out trying to make sure that they're rescuing as much as possible. And it's also created, you know, some discomfort in some of the relationships between these organizations because they feel bad, like they're taking something that one of their partners used to get. So I want to make sure, like, we're focused on trying to fill a gap that exists for all of us, but let's also remember we're now, if it goes back, someone else is facing a gap too.
Because of what you said, really quick, because of what you said, Michelle's given a similar answer. It's not going to be turning off the light switch, turning it back on. It's going to be more difficult than that. But she was willing to work with us to try to figure that out.
Okay, we got someone back here.
I'm good.
The supervisor wanted to.
No, that covered it. I'm good.
Supervisor Brunel wants to talk.
Well, no, I mean, it's been said pretty much. You know, there is going to be an interim here. There's no doubt about it. In Food Bank's defense, they have redeployed a lot of their food rescue, okay? So I just can't turn around immediately. But I do know of one pantry that is picking up, not pantry, but entity that's picking up at Costco Ankeny, and it's more than they can handle. They're dropping it off at another DMARC pantry, so we know that's going on. So there is this going on right now, right? Okay, so future forward, if we could figure out who has more than they can handle, then that would cut down that interim piece. But there will be an interim, and would it be millions of dollars for the interim? I don't know. It depends how long the interim is, right? But we don't know how long it would take to get things reshifted back to where it is now. So Matt makes a good point there.
Is it great?
Okay. Just so we've been talking a lot, you know, we're all kind of singing to the choir. We all agree what the need is, and without food bank here, it's hard for us to really move forward. I know, Matt, you've been talking to him. Russ, you've been talking to him. Why aren't they here? Is there something we can do to put together a forum or a committee or some avenue that would make it willing for them to come? And then second, I have a second question. Matt, for the people who have signed on with the contract, have they found that people are coming back multiple times? I think there's 4 pantries. Is our fear become the reality? So those are my 2 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So 4 of our pantries have signed on. 3 of them are really high volume, and 1 is Central Iowa Shelter and Services, and it kind of serves a really niche population. Of the 3 that signed on, there were over 1,600 repeat visits just last month, and that was just at 3 pantries. It equated to 8% of what the total network volume was. And that was kind of my fear coming into this situation that I had described, that if that was across the entire network, that number gets up 10, 15, 20% of our entire unique individuals. We simply can't sustain that.
And I guess to answer your other question, you know, the lines of communication are open. I plan to talk to Michelle and relay what I've heard here tonight, ask some of the questions that were asked in this meeting, and you know, I will request that we work to bring together a bigger group of people to have some discussions, that it is a network and it involves a lot of different pantries, and there's a lot involved here. And I will have those discussions with her. Yeah.
We could say, what do we need to do to get you at the table?
I think I'd call that a contact group, you know?
Yeah.
Mark and all.
Did we get any feedback why they weren't coming? I mean, obviously it's an organized,
Hang on. So we're putting this and recording the session so that it's like of record. It's on YouTube. So if we're going to speak, raise your hand. I'll bring you the mic so that we know the voices get recorded. So, and I think I don't know who was talking.
I don't know why, but I will make the suggestion that maybe we could get a small group together that's representative of a number of the organizations and stakeholders that are here today and try to have a greater conversation. I certainly will suggest that.
I wanted to make sure that we clarified something. When a family accesses a pantry or a network more than once, they're not doing anything wrong. They're trying to fulfill a need they have. Every one of our partners that I've ever talked to wish more than anything we could serve them as much as we could or would if we had the resources. So I just want to make sure, especially since the media is here, when we talk about a fear of people hitting multiple pantries, it's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's a capacity issue that we're trying to provide equitable access through some organization and some approach. But the families, we never would say that they don't need more assistance. We know they do. So I don't want to ever suggest that families are doing anything wrong.
Can I piggyback off that? Because I had a comment, but it's related to that, which is there's anytime items, which I think everyone in this room knows what I mean when I say anytime. Those are not restricted. People can come in and get anytime items at any time. That's why they're called that. And so the 3-day supply that's at issue, What I'm hearing is the devils are in the details and there's a contract dispute. It's actually just one line in a contract. And if you just redline like 2 sentences and put anytime items count towards that, we're all good here. Like this, hands down, done. Unfortunately not for Eat Greater Des Moines, because I don't want to forget them, Aubrey. But for DMARC and you guys, that's all it takes. It's really easy in that regard. But yeah, don't forget about Aubrey. Yeah.
And I'll just add that I have volunteered quite a bit this fall at the new D Market. The anytime food is bread, potatoes, oranges, tomatoes, soup, any time. Besides chips and Girl Scout cookies that never end. But the way it's written, that's not meeting the contract. One line.
Matt, probably 2 questions for you. So one, in terms of inventory, so part of this is the concern that if we have multiple families going to multiple pantries, that the inventory will get low. We know that that is a real possibility. Where is the conflict in terms of being able to ask for more from Food Bank of Iowa with this change? Where's the backstop at? Or can you help me out with that a little bit? And then maybe one follow-up question as well.
So one of the original concerns that we raised was not just the backfill, but you know, if we do this additional, would the food bank have additional items for us to get from them? And the response was that they'll continue to have the items that they have to provide us. The other concern, though, from an equity perspective, is the household that gets to come and make their second visit, their third visit, their fourth visit. And again, to Ann's point, if they need it, I want them to have all the food they need in the world. But the person that hasn't had the opportunity to come to the pantry yet, or is waiting until the point in the month when they've run out of food and then they're going to go to the pantry, and now we've depleted the hard to get items like meat and milk and produce and eggs and the things that everybody needs and wants. If we're allowing people to come so many times before that person gets there, we're not creating an equitable system. We're creating a scarcity mindset that everybody's going to rush to the front of the month to be able to get these things. And that's the thing we really wanted to try to avoid with implementing a policy like, you know, if I could have the resources to make sure everyone had 45, 50, 100 days of food if they needed it, I would wave a wand and make that happen. I don't want anyone to not have what they need, period. And that goes beyond food. But we simply have what we have, and we can buy what we can buy. The anytime items is pretty much anything that we don't have to pay for. The only thing we limit on a monthly basis is stuff that we're having to buy because we can only buy so much.
And then just in terms of the interim solution, you have more experience than a lot of us, except for I think Althea in the room and others maybe at the food bank level or a pantry level. But what does good look like in the interim? What would be some of the ideas that you think you could implement tomorrow to help us out with this?
If we could find someone that could get us some of those items at wholesale cost, if we didn't have to pay retail costs for them, you know, a lot of the food rescue items that are really popular are prepared foods. Nothing is more expensive than prepared foods. If we could find a partner that would prepare sandwiches or something like that that are similar to some of the food rescue we've been getting and be able to offer them, you know, a lower cost than we would have to pay for retail, that might be an interim thing we can do to try and get some of those things. Maybe we could work with, you know, milk producers or some of those folks to see if can we get a deal for a short term of, you know, you're going to give us wholesale cost milk at a really good price that, you know, maybe you only guarantee that for 2 months and we can raise some money and make those purchases and have that on hand right away. But I've never quite been in a situation where you've had to purchase items that are usually rescued. So it's kind of a new normal that we would be approaching here. Because even in my time in food banking, you don't purchase a lot of things that you food rescue. That's the beauty of food rescue, is it's already there. Why do you buy what you can get that's going to be thrown out already?
So I want to go, I'm Deanne Howard, on the West Des Moines Human Services Board, and I wanted to go to the contact group. I think it would be important if we create a contact group that there are members of the Food Bank of Iowa board that are also on it. That's one thing that I want to commend West Des Moines Human Services Board is we didn't roll over when this contract came up. We're going, wait, this isn't right. And it would have been easy to just say, okay, forget it. But because we're active, like you guys are for DMARC, I think it would be important to have Food Bank of Iowa board members, 1 or 2, on that kind of a committee.
Got a green light. Okay. I'm just a follow-up on what Deanne said too, because my thought is we've been working with Michelle whenever we've been able to get a hold. Has anybody been face-to-face with any board members that can kind of bring them into it and get them, have them feel the need that's there?
My mic is on. I've had many conversations and reached out to many food bank board members. Unfortunately, they don't appear to be as active as this group's board members. So I'm unsure if we can accomplish that, but I am willing to try to tackle that as part of this. I want to let Mayor Trimble have his first initial conversations, and then I think if I can support what Mayor Trimble is doing with the CEO of the food bank, I would certainly try to bring their board into the fold.
Hello? Okay. So you asked about access to food bank food. That's what I was asking. We've had so many conversations back here, sorry. And I can tell you as a pantry director and ordering, and a few of us DMARC pantry directors talked about it and likened it kind of like they give you just enough that you get hooked, but you don't get enough to be able to do what you need. So before, when we had milk and eggs, we could have it 60 to 75% of the time. So it was definitely much cheaper to do it that way than to try to do it on our own. But again, so much of this is about relationship and how we do this all together, and we all talk to each other. And I think that part keeps getting forgotten by Food Bank, because I speak to those who are Food Bank only, non-DMARC. I talk to other DMARC pantries, and you saw beef on the order this week? I haven't seen beef for a year. Like, there's a whole lot of things that were going on beforehand that the system has never been perfect. Unfortunately, it just got more broken, but it was always a challenge to be able to get what we needed anyway, and that equity was never there amongst all the pantries. How they decided who got to see what and what we could and could not order, I have no idea. I don't know if it's a volume thing, if it's a location thing, if it was, they didn't like the way we looked last time they came. I have no idea, but it was never something that we could always know that there were things that we could get, so.
Other comments, and I thought maybe in the next 5 or 10 minutes, we'd kind of bring it to a conclusion and then identify some persons who are available to be on a contact group on a later date, kind of bring this to a conclusion at a few minutes before 8. But I see a microphone back there.
Hi, Dylan Lampy. I'm just a community member. Used to work at Food Bank of Iowa with Matt, actually. So, this has been a really great discussion, and there's going to be an interim solution, and this is going to work out, I'm guessing. But don't forget about this, because even even 2-3 years ago, even longer than that, the food bank relationship with DMARC and other hunger fighting organizations in the state was strained. This isn't new. So please continue after this all gets resolved, because it will, it has to. Please, let's not stop here, and let's continue these conversations. That food rescue piece is critical. And in my opinion, in conversations I've had with Aubrey, that's not what the food bank does well. Let's put people in places where they can do things well so we can get food out more efficiently and just in an easier fashion. So please continue these conversations after we have a resolution, have those groups that get together, but this can't stop here. So thanks for having this tonight. It's been a very good conversation.
Cut off conversation, but I think we've kind of got to.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a possibility, and it may be completely out of the question, but is there a way we can pay? Instead of saying this is a food rescue, can we say, we're paying you for it, I'll give you $1. Whatever you've got today, give it to me, and it's no longer food rescue? They can still write off the $1,099,999? I'm just asking this question.
As a lawyer, that kind of appeals to me. I don't know.
I'm just saying, we're looking for a way around a problem, and this is an interim way. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It's an idea.
All the lawyers in the room are like, hey, would that be legal? Could we were there other comments? Otherwise, I thought, how about we ask one of our elected officials to give a closing, you could give the closing statement.
Oh, boy, that's a lot of pressure.
Because if I do it, it'll still be just as warm as the opening was, so.
Hey, your opening statement was fine, and you've done a great job leading this, and I want to thank you, Joe, for everything that you've been doing to lead this, and Doug and Althea and others that worked to put this meeting together. This has been extremely helpful. I think it's been a very productive meeting. I've learned a lot, and I plan on taking this all back and having a conversation with Michelle to bring up the items that were brought up in this meeting. I do think, Joe, you brought up a point. I mean, we've got a number of organizations that are in here. If we're going to have this group, this contact group, I mean, I think we need to figure out, how many different groups are here and how many people we need to have working together at the table to try to come up with a solution for this network of pantries in, the biggest metro area in the state with the greatest need, so that we can have everybody at the table. I mean, I don't think we want, as much as we want a lot of participation, we don't want 50, 60 people at the table, but who do we need? Who are the key people that we need from each organization to be at the table to have a discussion, if we're able to get that done?
We do have a sign-in sheet, so we know who's here, if you've signed in. Could I just, for purposes of our going forward, we'll take that list and we'll identify each of the groups that are on there, make a contact with them so that they can know who among their group would be the best person for the contact group. The smaller, the better, obviously,
right,
in terms of numbers. And then there's the metro issue that, I think has to be put into that, the countywide thing. I'm pointing at you, right. Supervisor Brownell. With that, so why don't you, we'll get that list, if we could find that. It's out on the table. Okay, it's out there.
Is everybody signed in that's here? So on your way out, please sign in and put the organization that you represent. So if we're able to form such a group to have discussions.
But maybe if you're interested in being in that contract group and you represent a specific group,
And so as you exit, if you're interested in being part of this contact group, write down your email address, something like that, some way that we know how to get a hold of you, so like maybe one DMARC board member and Matt or something like that.
That's
like
great.
Identify yourself.
And start your name, that'll help me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Bundle up, go out into the cold. Well, let's keep on this. I think we've got a good plan here. Thank you.